Did you know Charlie Kirk once called Martin Luther King Jr. awful? Not a hero, not a visionary, awful. Charlie Kirk, the man who rose from a teenage dropout to the face of America's conservative youth, didn't just challenge liberals. He went after the very foundation of America's civil rights history. And the more he spoke, the more dangerous and powerful he became. But how did a kid barely out of high school manage to bend the political conversation of an entire generation? Charlie Kirk wasn't born into Washington privilege. No Ivy League degree, no family dynasty. Yet, at just 18, he co-founded Turning Point USA, a nonprofit that promised to educate students about free markets and limited government. In reality, it became a recruiting ground for conservative youth, turning college campuses into battlegrounds. The rise of this movement was no accident. Behind Kirk, billionaires opened their wallets. But what did they see in him? Money poured in from wealthy conservative donors like Foster Friess and the Koch network. By his early 20s, Kirk wasn't just running a student group, he was running a multi-million-dollar political machine. His charm? He wasn't polished like a politician. He was young, brash, and willing to say things others wouldn't. But it wasn't just politics he was selling. It was outrage, and outrage would make him famous. Kirk became a star by staging viral confrontations with left-leaning students. Armed with a camera crew, he toured campuses, waiting for debates to spiral into shouting matches. Those clips exploded online, making him a conservative hero. Supporters cheered. Critics called it performance politics. Yet the real controversy wasn't the arguments he had, it was the message he was spreading. One of Kirk's favorite targets became America's education system. He claimed college was a scam, professors were brainwashing youth, and degrees were worthless. His book The College Scam made the case that higher education was nothing but indoctrination. It resonated with frustrated students drowning in debt. But was Kirk actually trying to liberate students, or simply replace one form of indoctrination with his own? Then came 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic. This was when Kirk's rhetoric shifted from provocative to dangerous. He didn't just question mandates, he called them medical apartheid. His organization, PUSA, ran ads warning young people that vaccines were experimental injections. These weren't harmless opinions. They reached millions of impressionable followers. And when the backlash came, Kirk only doubled down. Why? Because outrage was the business model. Kirk realized that the more extreme the statement, the more attention he got. Critics accused him of endangering public health. But for Kirk, it was proof of influence. He was no longer just a campus figure. He was shaping national conversations, sometimes with lies. But the controversy didn't stop there. After the 2020 election, Kirk became one of the loudest voices pushing claims of voter fraud. He amplified conspiracy theories, casting doubt on democracy itself. Twitter even locked his account for sharing false information about mail-in ballots. Yet, inside conservative circles, his influence only grew. What made his message so dangerous wasn't just the content, it was his audience. Kirk had mastered the art of speaking to Gen Z and millennials, the very groups conservatives had struggled to reach. Through podcasts, rallies, and social media, he turned culture wars into entertainment. From mocking trans rights to railing against woke corporations, Kirk offered young conservatives a villain to hate and a cause to fight for. But behind the applause, his rhetoric was crossing darker lines. In 2024, he shocked even conservatives by attacking Martin Luther King Jr. He dismissed MLK as awful, claiming the civil rights leader didn't believe his own words. For many, it was a moment of truth, proof that Kirk's crusade wasn't just political. It was cultural warfare at its most aggressive. But was it calculated strategy, or a glimpse into something even more extreme? That's because Charlie Kirk isn't just about politics. His rallies increasingly resemble church revivals. With prayer, worship music, and sermons woven into political messaging, Kirk has blurred the line between faith and state. Critics say he's mainstreaming Christian nationalism, a vision where religion and government become inseparable. And the deeper he leaned into faith, the more radical his platform became. LGBTQ rights, gender identity, racial justice. Kirk positioned himself against them all, often with language described as bigoted and inflammatory. He mocked trans people, dismissed systemic racism, and declared the culture war his battlefield. For his followers, he was saying what others feared to say. For his critics, he was spreading hate. But there's one more twist to this story that even his supporters rarely admit. Because Charlie Kirk didn't just rise on his own talent. He was groomed. Wealthy conservative backers saw in him the perfect weapon, young, outspoken, and unafraid to provoke. They poured millions into Tpuza, giving Kirk the platform to launch his movement. Without that money, there might never have been a Charlie Kirk as we know him today. So was he ever really independent, or just a pawn in a larger game? What makes Kirk truly unique is how he built a national empire out of culture wars. He never held office, never passed a law, and never led a government agency. Yet, he arguably influenced America's youth more than many elected officials. Through controversy, he carved out power. But the question that remains is simple: how long can outrage keep someone on top before it all comes crashing down? Charlie Kirk's story isn't just about one man's rise. It's about how modern politics rewards division. From campus stunts to COVID conspiracies, from attacking civil rights icons to fueling Christian nationalism, Kirk built a career on pushing lines others wouldn't dare touch. And in that push lies the biggest controversy of all. Is he the future of conservatism, or its greatest liability? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, where we weave together pieces of real events into one truly alluring story.